Hello there and welcome, because today we're going to cover in the third installment of Tennis Strategy 101, what is first strike tennis and is it for you? So we're going to talk about different kinds of strike tennis. So we're going to talk a little bit about first strike tennis, second strike tennis, strike someday tennis, no strike tennis, and death flower strike tennis. So one of the things that's interesting about using the 0 to 4 data, where the conclusion is that at the college level, a lot of times the players there grind so much that they're playing about 55 to 60% of their points are ending before the fifth shot. Those playing at a higher level, it's a larger amount. But another piece of data is that SwingVision recently published their gross data for 2021. So all tennis played on SwingVision last year had 67% of points were finished before the fifth shot. And, one thing that we learned from Craig O'Shaughnessy and Sterling Strother is that, at the pro level, that men's matches generally are about 70% and women's matches are approximately 65%. And that holds true with the high school level as well, is it's approximately 65%. So you lump it all together and you get something between 65 and 70% of points end before the fifth shot. So do you want to train players to take advantage of that first two shots? Do you want them to win and not lose? I think you do. So I love a particular quote from Craig O'Shaughnessy, who says, it's okay to win the point in the first two shots, but it's not okay to lose it. All right. Now, some of you out there are operating under this notion that somehow the player be armed with this data should try to end the point as quickly as possible. And that's just not true. What's true is the point is going to end pretty quickly. So do you want to be on the winning end of it or not? That's the question. So we're gonna dig into this. And I think it's a really great thing to teach people who are beginning to play matches for the first time. All right. And when we tie it to some of the most important tennis axioms of all time, then you'll see that it's actually very basic. So I know that some people are probably going to watch this with a certain level of skepticism. So I'd love to hear your comments or questions. If you want to dispute something that I'm saying here, I love it. We can bat it around. I don't know if I'm going to go 5 comments deep. All right. So in the first video, I opened up Tennis Strategy 101 with get the ball over the net. That's a quick summary, but there's more to it. There's a lot of detail there. And then in the second one, it was about being able to hit targets on the court. And visual training for tennis is something that has a lot of skills that can help players do both of those better, especially when it comes to hitting targets. But anyway, I'm going to move on to the next thing here. So one of the most important axioms of tennis is that the serve is the most important shot in tennis. I mean, this is just a no-brainer. And anyone worth their salt knows that the serve is the first most important shot in tennis because it's the first shot in every match. It's always the first shot. So you have to have a good serve. Now, some people serve fast, Some people serve slow. Some people serve with accuracy. Some people serve with spin. There's a lot of different ways to do it, right? But you need your best serve. All right, now, it's been pretty steady on the tours that over the years, you take all the data together, and the men are winning approximately 72% of their first serve points. So you get your first serve in, you'll have your best winning percentage. Right. And then there is not a player who has had for a season a winning percentage over 50% on second serves. Kind of shocking, isn't it? So you might even dispute that, but you can't, because the data's all there. Now, in a particular match, somebody might have a great match where they're just playing so well that they're backing up their second serve so well, and they can have a winning percentage over 50%. Fine, that's, don't use anecdotal data on me. I'm looking at the big numbers of what happens the most. So you have to get your first serve in. Getting your first serve in is a really big thing. Absolutely. Right now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna layer this. I'm gonna kind of spiral around. So I'm gonna go on to axiom number 2, which is the return of serve is the second most important shot, and probably the least practiced, commensurate to the importance that it has in a match. So it's really important, if you're going to play well, to have a well-practiced serve and a well-practiced return. So that's really an important thing. So, and what's the most important thing for you to do with the return? Get it back in the court. So, there can be a shift. So, when you're returning first serve, then you want to be more defensive. And when you're returning second serve, you could possibly be more offensive. It is true. And, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Somebody might hit a really great serve, but they just happen to hit it right into your wheelhouse. And you might crank a winner, and it was kind of an excuse me kind of a shot. Yeah, that's not going to happen a lot. Sorry, swallowed the wrong way. So the return of serve is the second most important shot, followed by the server's next shot is the third most important shot that you're going to hit, followed then by the returner's next shot. So it's really important to have a high percentage of success. So then what do we do with this? Let's bring it back to the serve again. There are 18 different variations of serve that you can have, because you've got the ad court and the deuce court. You have flat serves, slice serves, and topspin or kick serves. And you have wide body T, right? T, body, wide. I also like to say that there's actually, I'm actually kind of breaking it into 4 pieces, the service line these days with my top players, because there's wide, then there's corner, then there's body, then there's T. But I digress. I'm not ready to flesh that out right now, but just go with me. There's all these different varieties of serves that you can hit. So let's take 2 players. One player sort of dumbly just hits the same serve over and over again. They just step up and they hit their flat serve, and it's probably going to the forehand a lot in the deuce court. So are they going to have their best win percentage, if they're always hitting a flat serve, which means their percentage isn't going to be great? And it's predictable. It goes to the forehand because they're just not really thinking that much. There's not really a big advantage there. I used to laugh when I was playing, and I would be playing somebody who could have been a much more formidable opponent, if they had just simply thought a little bit longer about what they were doing, because they had a good first serve. But I'm like, wait, it goes to my forehand every time. So just read it, and get ready for a forehand. And, every once in a while, he would accidentally hit to my backhand. And I'm like, okay, don't worry about that, because the next one's coming to the forehand. So, but there's a huge advantage that can be gained if you're just simply moving your serves around in the box and having some unpredictability there. With your returns, if you're, making sure that you're returning right back up the middle at the server and reducing any change of direction, then you're going to be more effective. It's been shown that when you change the direction of the ball, that's when more errors are incurred. So sending the ball back the same direction it came is safer. So you're going to have a better chance at that. And also, it's been kind of a trend in the game lately, the returning it back at the server and make them get out of the way of the ball for the first shot. That's been shown to be pretty effective. So what does this mean? You need these skills. So part of what it takes to have the ability to move your serve around is the visual skill of being able to hit targets on the court. So, I've even, with some players, scripted for them their serve patterns for a match. For instance, I like their first 2 points of the match, I want them to serve at the body of the opponent. So that's the first 2 points. And then what does that do? It sets a tone for the other player. And they have to think about getting out of the way of the ball. And then because they have this sort of this fear of a flat serve coming out their body, then they look for that first, because they don't want to get hit by the ball. So I'll start with that. And then what I'll do is, maybe in the ad court, then have my player hit a slice serve out wide, and then that pulls the other player off the court. And then in that deuce court, I'll have them hit a kick serve out to the backhand. And so now there's these different things that are happening. And then come back to the deuce court, and it could be a flat serve to the tee. And then go back to the ad court, and it could be a flat serve out wide, a flat serve to the body of, and then from there, after you kind of go through and you try out all these different serves to different locations, then you start to take notes about what works the best. So then the returner is really at the mercy of the server, because the server's got the ability, hopefully, to hit the ball anywhere they like. And if that's true, then the returner needs to, be open to reading and reacting and having an idea of where they'd like, if the serve comes here, where do I want to return it? If it comes here, where do I want to go? And have these contingencies ready. So that's another important part of it, is with better players, you need more contingencies. With beginning players, you need to simplify things. So, only hit. So I don't know how many times I've worked with brand new players who are just getting started playing matches, and I just tell them, look, try to get it cross court or go right at them. And those are your two choices. So whatever works for you. And in trying to do that, even if they spray some balls, they're still going to be able to make it in, and it might be down the line when they don't want it. But those are really important to do. So now, another interesting thing is, once you start to spin the ball, then there's an infinite number of varieties of spin that you can use. So you can cut the ball different ways and different amounts, and you can hit it a little flatter, or you can, really cut it a lot and have it moving. And then once you start doing that, then you really can get the opponent off balance. and out of sorts because the ball's coming at different times to them and mess up their rhythm. So there's a lot you can do in the first shot to draw an error out of your opponent, to get them to not be able to read your serve so well. You can get them to have you can force them into an error. You might be able to draw them to have more unforced errors. And then one of the benefits of hitting initially some serves at the body is that it gives the player a little bit of hesitation, and then you can get more aces out wide because they're just hesitating for just a hundredth of a second, and they're not going to react quite as quickly. So you can get 6 more inches or a foot out wide where you can place the ball and get an ace. So then we can get into contingencies, because the next thing that needs to happen is after you've served, before you serve, actually, you're going to go, look, I'm serving wide. So what does that mean? It means there's a really good chance that the ball could be coming back on an angle. Or the player could catch it late and it could be going down the line. So you need to have kind of a shot planned out, trained for any possibility. A great example is Steffi Graf, who now goes by Stephanie Graf, but most people know her as Steffi. She was one of the most offensive players, in the history of women's tennis. I mean, she used to hit tons of winners, and a lot of unforced errors because she was always going for so much. But one thing that was true about her is if she was willing to play some defense, she was very good at, if the other player did really clock a ball, that she was ready to go run to the corner and go retrieve and slice a ball back, or, play one safe shot before going back on the attack again. So this is true of all the great players, is they have the capacity to at least play 1 or 2 really good defensive shots before trying to turn the tide of the point into an offensive situation. So what you want to do is you want to play smart tennis. And when it comes to that, you need to make your first serve in. If you can have a plan to move your serve around, that's the next big first step that you can use. If you are also learning to spin the ball, then you might have 1 or 2 or 3 different spins that you hit that you feel confident that you can hit to different places. Use only the ones that you're confident with, but start building more into your game so that you have more in your arsenal, so that you can draw errors from your opponent, because that's the big thing. If you can play smart and play a combination of shots that draws, that forces your opponent into an error, or gives them an opportunity for an unforced error because you've kind of thrown off their rhythm a little bit, then that's how tennis is won. It's not the winners. It's the setting things up. And one of the great things that I remember hearing from Nick Bollettieri is the phrase control, hurt, finish. So, but first, in your first 2 shots, you really want to control your shots. And then, but you might accidentally hurt them. You might accidentally hit a winner. If the ball goes perfectly in the corner and it's an ace, what are you going to do? Apologize and take it back and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to win points, win the point. I'm supposed to rally longer." No, you accept it, right? So, but your first thought should be control, hurt, finish, because when you get to your hurt shot where you are, really putting somebody under pressure, then there's a good chance. I mean, that could also be an accidental winner, But that's not the intention. What you're trying to do is put them under pressure so that they're going to hit a weaker shot and then finish. So I always tell people what you want to do is set your points up and put the other player under pressure. So if you are the stronger player, you could overpower your opponent today and just consistently hit hard to them and overpower them. More power to you. That is a great way to win because that's the fastest way to win. But if you're not, if it's equal or they're better at that than you, then it's charge of the light brigade and you're asking for it, right? But then if you like to pressure the movement of your opponent, right, then you come in with a plan and you say, okay, I'm going to serve out wide, and then the next ball is going to go deep cross court. And that creates the greatest distance for them to cover. But if that player is better at making angles or is faster on the court than you, and that's their game, and they're better at it, well, don't play that way. You have to play a different way. So if your plan is to put pressure on them, you could serve and volley, right? Hit a kick serve, come on in, take time away from them. That's a great way to do it. It's doable, So, more data is showing that serve and volley is still good for a 66% win percentage, right? But, new players trying it out for the first time might not get that same percentage. But, just the element of surprise is going to help you win 50% of the points. Of course, you need some skills. You need to be able to serve accurately, and you need to be able to volley and have some comfort moving forward. That's obvious. So I don't want to hear any arguments about that part. But if you're trying to put pressure on their time and space, then you want kind of a steady stream of those body serves, and you want to hit the ball at them, and that puts pressure on their time and space. And then if you drop shot them and they have to run forward and now they're closer, and then you can go at them or drop shot them. There's a lot of different ways to do time and space, but the number one way is to play a little closer in the court. That takes away time and space. Come into the net a little bit, but then also you can bring them towards you, right? But again, if they're better at that than you, you've got to play a different way. And then, another thing you can do is mess up their rhythm. So here would be a good example. You might hit a kick serve down the tee. Oops. You might hit a kick serve down the tee, followed by a slice shot somewhere on the court, right? So first they've got the top spin, now you're slicing, and so you've completely changed the rhythm of the match. And that's another way you can do it. Or you can slice your serve and hit a heavy topspin. Or you can, hit a flat serve and a topspin shot. So varying the way you're striking the ball can be a huge part of it as well. And then, which leads us to the last thing, because sometimes it's desperate measures, desperate times call for desperate measures. Nothing's working. And you just, every time you go for a serve out wide, it seems to go long or wide. Oh my goodness, what are you going to do? So, make your serve and run and grind. But, that's the hardest way to win. It takes the most effort and it creates the most pain. And, but one thing I see is in the U.S., I think a very large percentage of our players play one of two ways. They're either trying to go boom, boom, they're trying to go big serve, big forehand, finish the point now, or they're hitting a top spin serve almost all the time, and they're grinding, big top spin and top spin all the time, just keeping the ball in and grinding, and really hoping to win now lots of 9-shot rallies, which only happens 10% of the time. Unless, of course, everybody's so prone to playing that way that it happens 15% of the time. So good for you. So anyway, I hope that all this makes sense. I'm going to circle back. Oh, circling back, that's always a fun thing to do. So I'm going to go and look at the comments now. If you like what I'm doing here, I appreciate that. Shout out to those who bought me a cup of coffee before. Brian Cuniff is one of those people. Thank you, Brian. And, you can go find my books or whatever. Whatever you want to do, that's great. But what you can do, and do this with everybody whose stuff you like, right? Spend your social digital currency. I do this all the time. I like to like somebody's video and share it out. So it takes only, look, it takes this. You just go boom, and then boom, and boom. So click like. If you want to, share it somewhere on social media. Click subscribe. And if you want to get a notification right away, then click the bell until it becomes solid and you're good to go. Another thing you can do if you want, go to brainsports.coach, where I'm blogging almost daily. If I'm not blogging, it's because I'm just way too busy or, exhausted or something. But I'm trying to get something up there every day. And I'm going to be doing this for a while, and I'm getting ready to publish a book called Tennis Strategy 101. And then what will happen is then it'll be 201, 301. So Tennis Strategy 101 is meant for players up to about the 3.5 level, not really above that, but 3.5, beginner, just getting started playing, and needs a foundation for how to play intelligently so that they can go and not wreck themselves. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. I'll be live tomorrow morning around 8 or 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.